For centuries, witches and wizards have sought ways to defy the inevitable, death itself. The dark allure of immortality, of transcending the boundaries of life, has led some down perilous paths, the darkest of which is the creation of a Horcrux. It is a subject that has captured the imagination and fear of many in the magical community, including Voldemort, who took this gruesome practice to extremes. But what if I told you there is a magic even darker than the Horcrux? A magic so forbidden, so vile, that even Voldemort himself would hesitate to use it. It begins, as all dangerous ideas do, with a name, a whisper lost to time. In ancient magical texts, this practice is referred to as umbromancy, the art of binding one's very essence to the shadows that linger in the in-between, where Horcruxes splinter the soul and tether fragments to earthly objects. Umbromancy consumes the soul entirely, anchoring it not to the physical realm, but to the fabric of darkness itself. Unlike a Horcrux, this magic does not grant the illusion of immortality. It ensures a twisted, eternal existence in a realm beyond comprehension, an existence that is neither life nor death. Umbromancy predates the practice of creating Horcrux, rooted in the earliest forms of magical experimentation. It was said to have been devised by a sect of wizards who worshipped shadow itself, believing that true power lay not in light or life, but in the void that both emerge from. These practitioners, known as the Noctivity, rejected mortality not by preserving themselves, but by becoming one with what they called the eternal shade, an omnipresent force that existed outside the laws of nature. The process of performing umbromancy is as sinister as it is shrouded in mystery. To enact this forbidden ritual, the caster must first sever their soul entirely from their body. Unlike the splintering required for a Horcrux, which allows fragments of the soul to remain intact, this spell requires complete self-sacrifice. The soul must be willingly offered up to the void, leaving the body as an empty shell. However, this is only the beginning. The soul, once separated, is not left adrift. Through an intricate incantation, it is merged with the shadow realm itself, where it becomes omnipresent, boundless, and utterly lost. But why would any witch or wizard choose such a horrifying fate? The answer lies in the allure of absolute power. A soul bound to the void gains knowledge of all things hidden within the darkness, secrets of the universe, ancient magic thought lost, and an ability to manipulate shadows as if they were physical threads. The price, however, is unimaginable. To lose one's soul to the void is to lose oneself entirely. No sense of self, no emotion, no identity, just an eternal consciousness floating in a formless abyss. Few accounts of umbromancy remain, as most who practiced it disappeared into obscurity, but faint echoes of their existence linger in magical lore, like whispers from the shadows themselves, warning those who dare to listen. The practice of umbromancy, though largely forgotten, left ripples throughout magical history. Tales of individuals who dared to attempt it often carry a common thread. They were brilliant, ambitious, and wholly consumed by their thirst for power. Yet, they all met a fate more harrowing than death. A fate whispered of in ghost stories told by wizards wary of the dark. One of the most chilling legends tied to umbromancy is that of Horcruxes, a dark wizard who, according to scattered accounts, may have experimented with this forbidden magic. Horcruxes, infamous for his use of dark sorcery and his construction of the fortress that would one day become Azkaban, was said to have been obsessed with conquering the boundaries of existence. His fortress, cloaked in perpetual mist, was rumored to have been a site of umbromantic rituals. Some believe that the oppressive despair of Azkaban, later amplified by the presence of Dementors, is a lingering byproduct of the shadows he tampered with. The idea of merging oneself with shadow has connections to Dementors themselves. These creatures, which feed on human happiness and leave their victims hollow, are speculated by some scholars to have been born of failed umbromancy experiments. The theory suggests that when a wizard's soul is consumed by the void, fragments of their essence, devoid of humanity, manifest in the physical world as these spectral horrors. While there is no definitive evidence to support this, the parallels are undeniable. Dementors, much like the eternal shade described in the texts, thrive in darkness and seem to embody its essence. But umbromancy's dangers extend beyond the fate of the caster. Unlike a Horcrux, which ties a soul to a specific object and can be destroyed by physical means, the merging of a soul with the shadow realm is irreversible. The caster becomes a part of the void, and the void, in turn, gains a measure of sentience. This raises a terrifying question. Could the void itself grow stronger with each soul it consumes? In the rare accounts of umbromancy rituals, there is mention of an unsettling phenomenon. The shadows in the caster's surroundings grow darker, more tangible, as though feeding on the magic. This detail has fueled speculation that the void is not merely an empty space, but a living force. If true, then every act of umbromancy may have contributed to its growth, spreading its reach across the magical and non-magical worlds alike. In this light, the existence of the Noctivary becomes even more ominous. Were they a cult, seeking power for themselves? Or pawns manipulated by the very force they sought to control? It is also worth noting that shadow-based magic, while deeply mistrusted, has never been completely eradicated from magical practice. Even in modern times, traces of its influence can be found in spells and rituals. The disillusionment charm, for instance, bends light to make the caster blend with their surroundings. But what of magic that manipulates darkness itself? Could these everyday spells carry faint echoes of the deeper, forbidden truths about shadow magic? The deeper one delves into the mysteries of umbromancy, the clearer it becomes that this form of magic is not just a threat to the individual who practices it, but to the delicate balance of the magical world itself. If the void described in ancient texts is indeed sentient, then its hunger for souls may go beyond those who willingly offer themselves to it. This could explain why even the most powerful witches and wizards who sought to master umbromancy ultimately disappeared without a trace, consumed not by the magic they sought to wield, but by the force they unknowingly awakened. One curious aspect of umbromancy that sets it apart from other dark magic is its complete reliance on the caster's will. Unlike Horcruxes, which require external objects as vessels, or the unforgivable curses which are fueled by intent and hatred, umbromancy requires absolute submission. The caster must willingly forfeit their identity, their humanity, and their very essence to the shadows. It is an act of self-annihilation, masquerading as a quest for power. This act of surrender, some theorize, is what makes the magic so dangerous. Because in the moment the caster relinquishes control, the void seizes it. Interestingly, this concept of submission aligns with certain magical principles found in other areas of dark magic. Consider the Patronus charm, a spell that requires the caster to summon the purest form of positive energy to repel darkness. The Patronus draws upon the caster's happiest memories and strongest emotions, yet it demands the wizard to let go of fear and doubt completely. In a twisted mirror image of this, umbromancy requires the opposite, a complete surrender to despair and emptiness, a rejection of light. The stark contrast between these magics underscores the inherent duality within magical practice. Light and shadow, creation and destruction, life and death. The implications of this duality ripple through history, offering a new lens through which to view certain events. Could the rise of particularly destructive dark wizards, from Herpo the Foul to Voldemort himself, have been influenced by forces deeper and older than even they understood? While both Herpo and Voldemort pursued immortality through Horcruxes, their obsession with power may have been subtly manipulated by the whispers of the void. After all, the very idea of tearing one's soul apart speaks to an underlying truth about dark magic. It preys on those willing to sacrifice everything for their ambitions. In the years following Voldemort's defeat, magical scholars have begun to re-examine ancient texts in search of answers to lingering questions about the limits of magic. Some have even speculated that the void described in umbromancy might explain the nature of certain magical anomalies, such as the veil in the Department of Mysteries. This veil, which Sirius Black fell through, has long been theorized to be a gateway to the afterlife. But what if it is more than that? What if it is a threshold to the Shadow Realm itself, a place where umbromantic forces still linger? Such speculation raises unsettling questions. If the void truly exists, and if souls consumed by it continue to grow its power, then what happens to the balance between life and death? Could the void eventually seep into the world of the living, creating an imbalance so profound that even the most powerful magic cannot undo it? The possibility of the void influencing the balance between life and death has profound implications, not just for wizards, but for the fabric of the magical and non-magical worlds alike. If umbromancy feeds such a force, one must ask, how close has the wizarding world already come to unleashing it? Could Voldemort's experiments, or even Grindelwald's pursuit of magical domination, have accidentally weakened the barriers between the Shadow Realm and our own? The veil in the Department of Mysteries may offer the strongest clue. Its enigmatic nature and ability to pull souls into a place beyond comprehension has baffled even the most knowledgeable unspeakables for centuries. What lies beyond the veil, and why does it seem to whisper? Some theorize that it is a natural boundary between life and death, a threshold that exists to preserve the natural order. But others, more daring in their speculation, suggest that the veil could be a remnant of umbromantic rituals performed long before the Ministry of Magic existed. If the Noctiviri or other shadow-wielding wizards sought to tether their magic to the void, the veil might serve as a warning, or worse, a doorway. The question of whether umbromancy is still practiced today is difficult to answer. Most accounts of its use have been erased or lost to time, and surviving records are often deliberately vague, perhaps to prevent curious witches and wizards from attempting it themselves. But there are hints in magical lore that shadow-based magic has never entirely disappeared. In particular, the study of obscurials, young witches and wizards whose repressed magic manifests as destructive shadowy entities, may hold echoes of umbromantic principles. An obscurus is, by its nature, tied to darkness and feeds on negative emotion. While it is not the result of deliberate magical practice, its behavior, spreading chaos and destruction as an embodiment of suppressed magic, parallels the chaotic power of the void. This raises another unsettling possibility. Could obscurials be connected to the void in some way? If the void hungers for souls and thrives on despair, might it be drawn to the suffering of a young wizard unable to control their magic? And if so, what might happen if an obscurus were to merge fully with the Shadow Realm? Such questions remain unanswered, but they serve as a chilling reminder of how much we still do not know about the darkest corners of magic. Yet, even in this darkness, there is hope. The legacy of Harry Potter and those who fought alongside him proves that light can triumph over shadow, that courage, love, and unity can withstand even the most powerful dark forces. Still, the wizarding world would do well to remember the lessons of the past. Magic, as Dumbledore once said, is a force beyond good and evil. It is our choices that determine its nature. Perhaps the ultimate caution of umbromancy is not the danger of the void itself, but the reminder that power pursued for its own sake always comes at a cost. For every whisper of shadow magic, there must be a louder call to the light, a resolve to resist the temptations of forces that would consume us. The void may always exist, lurking at the edges of the magical world, but as long as witches and wizards choose to protect the balance, its reach will remain limited. The question then is not whether the void can be defeated, but whether we have the strength to resist its call.